Hi, I've been putting off this video because I was hoping to get some answers to a number of questions that have arisen from the new terms and conditions for the MM2H visa, but sadly we still don't have the answers. There was a meeting with the ministry set for last week. That did not happen. It's now scheduled for middle of this month, August, and hopefully then we'll have a few more answers. But let me just review where we are right now. So basically, the MM2H program was launched in 2002. It was very successful. It was a great cooperation between the agents and the Ministry of Tourism that wanted feedback and adjusted the program based on that feedback. And by 2018, Malaysia was rated the best retirement destination in Asia. So all was good. However, unfortunately, as most people know, from 2018 until today, the story has been a bit more depressing. There was a whole batch of MM2H visas in 2019 which were returned, mostly declined. There were others that were just returned and they were told they're not being processed because the program was suspended. And then new terms and conditions were introduced which deterred people from applying. And basically it's been a rather disappointing story. However, when the new government came to power in 2022, there was a lot of hope that things would improve. And basically, everyone's been waiting for the new terms and conditions, which the Prime Minister had indicated would be a lot more friendly to applicants. Well, we now have more information about that. And whilst I would say they're slightly better than they were, I think there's still quite a bit, which is a bit concerning. And I'll let our viewers make their own minds up about suitability, but we already received quite a bit of feedback from current participants and from prospects. So let me run through where we are. First of all, there are 6 different MM2H visas available right now. One for Sabah, one for Sarawak, one for special economic zones, although currently there's, as far as we know, only one special economic zone, and that's in Forest City, the development right next to Singapore in Johor. I'm going to talk about the main national MM2H program, which allows you to live in Peninsular Malaysia, which is where we have the most interest. That has been changed quite a bit. It's no longer really focusing primarily on retirees, which I think is a bit sad because there's no question that this is the biggest group of people looking for a residence visa. And in response to that, the Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia have all set up retirement visas to capture that market. The MM2H visa, as it now stands, is not really a retirement visa. It's available to anyone over the age of 25, so it's a rather different vehicle. There are 3 tiers. The only ones that are suitable for retirees are the first 2 tiers, which are called silver and gold. And I doubt the gold one would be of much interest. The silver tier requires you to put a fixed deposit of $150,000 in return for a 5-year visa. The gold tier requires you to put in a $500,000 fixed deposit, $500,000 fixed deposit. That gives you a 15-year visa, which you will receive in 5-year segments. I don't think many people will be willing to pay the extra just for that longer term visa, but I may be wrong. So here's where we are. Also, they have a platinum visa. The platinum visa is people who want to work and invest there, and that's a rather different type of visa because it's really targeting businessmen, not retirees. And a little bit surprising they've introduced it because they already have a visa for people who want to invest here, which is the PVIP. That visa requires you to put $1 million ringgit on fixed deposit, and then you can come and live here and do business, work, and certain other privileges. The platinum visa also allows you to come here and work and invest, but you have to put $1 million on fixed deposit. So although some of the costs are a bit lower for platinum, it's still questionably not a particularly attractive visa relative to the existing one. And it's not entirely clear why they felt the need to produce another visa which competes with an existing one. So let's focus now a little bit on this national visa. A couple of things which I think are good developments. One is that they're now saying that the principal applicant can designate their spouse to take over the visa in the event of their death. Now that's a positive, because previously, if the principal applicant died, then the spouse would have to apply in their own right, and sometimes that proved quite difficult. So that's a good thing. Another group which will be pleased about the new development are expats who've lived here for many years, accumulated some money here, but did not have the offshore income that was required under the previous visa. This new visa, there is no fixed income requirement. So therefore, if they're already living here with locally sourced savings, they can now join this program and stay here. We know some people were forced to leave because they didn't have the offshore income and couldn't qualify for the previous MM2H visa. So that's a good news. Some of the other things are not quite as good. The first thing is, it's not a major thing, but there's a lot of time that the government's been spending on trying to get the agents under tighter control. I would argue there was no need for that, but obviously I'm not a decision maker. The authorized agents have been told they must now meet new conditions and re-register. And that is because apparently a few of them, because of the various problems they've had, as I outlined earlier, with the suspension of the visa, they did not have the financial resources to make refunds to some of the people who said they wanted to pull out because they were not happy with all the delays. So the fact they didn't make the refunds gave agents a bit of a bad name. And we've been told that our current business license will no longer allow us to submit new applications. So in order to do that, and new applications is the most difficult item, that service that we offer, and the highest price one, and so that is our main revenue earner. And of course, all agents have been suffering for the last 5 years with a lack of business. It's been very, very tough. So because of that, all of us have lost our license. We all have to apply under more stringent conditions, higher paid up capital. We have to get a bank guarantee for 200,000, which actually requires us to deposit with the bank 200,000 ringgit, which we then can't touch. So as an agent who's been authorized to handle new applications for the last 20 years, it's rather frustrating to be told I have to re-register under more stringent conditions, particularly since we made all the refunds in a timely manner. We never had any complaints against our business whatsoever, and now we're told we can't continue the work of promoting the visa. And that focus on the agents, I think, is one of the reasons why we still are waiting for the new visa to be restarted. The second problem, as I see it, is that, as I mentioned, it's not really a retirement visa anymore. So in that particular circumstance, you can actually join it if you're aged over 25, but you have to make a fixed deposit, even in the lowest tier, of 700,000 ringgit. Now, we know from our own research that a lot of retirees do not like having their money tied up. In fact, research we've done previously said the biggest thing they didn't like about the old program was that they had to keep money in the bank. They'd rather be able to spend it. They got to the end of their lives, they want to enjoy themselves, they don't want their money locked up in a low interest fixed deposit. But that was a requirement. They were unhappy with it, and that's when the fixed deposit was lower. Now, the fixed deposit has been risen up to 700,000 ringgit. It's an improvement over the terms and conditions of the previous visa, which was requiring 1 million ringgit to be on fixed deposit, but it's not a big improvement. So that is something of a problem. The third issue we have is that all applicants have to buy a house. There's no option to rent, and we know from our previous research that about 1/3 of the people only wanted to rent. They obviously are telling us, in that case, I won't come. I want to have that flexibility getting to the retirement years. I want to be able to move around, and this will not allow me to do that. So that group will probably not apply. To make matters worse, people are being told that when you make the purchase, you'll have to hold on to the house for 10 years unless you buy a larger house. And most people in retirement tend to want to downsize, not increase the size of their property. So obviously that requirement is going to be a problem for many applicants, and we've already been told by a number of prospects that they just don't understand the requirement to hold on to the house for 10 years when they only are given a visa with a 5-year duration, even if it is renewable. It doesn't seem logical, it's turning them off. So what we're finding is that a large segment of this retirement group, which is the biggest segment of all, are telling us they're no longer interested in coming in and joining the program. That's very disappointing. The fourth problem, as we see it, is that we are being told the fees must charge, and the fee is 40,000 ringgit per application. Now, out of that 40,000 ringgit, we have to pay all the government charges. One of those charges, as an example, is the annual visa fee of 500 ringgit. So we have to pay the full 5-year visa fee, which is 2,500 ringgit for every applicant. Well, obviously, if it comes with a family, 3 or 4 children, that figure, that cost can rise up quite high. If it's a single applicant, our cost in terms of payment to immigration is quite low, in which case it could be argued that a 40,000 fee for processing the new application is a little exorbitant, and we'd be inclined to agree with that. But that is the rules, and we can just wait and see whether or not they're going to be modified over time. What we're hoping is that they will add a 4th tier, and that would be a retirement tier, and that would be geared to older people, recognizing that they want to have access to their cash, still requiring them to show they can afford to live here, because we know that that group brings in billions of ringgit from Malaysia. It's really a boost to the economy and can be beneficial in non-financial ways as well. The fact that so many people choose to live here, the fact that the country is portrayed in a positive image, it helps tourism, it helps the medical industry, it helps property. So there's lots to be said about having a fully functioning retirement visa, and the absence of one, I think, is detrimental to Malaysia, and that's a pity. We know that people enjoy living here. We know that from our own research that the majority of participants have told us, I plan to live here for the rest of my life. But the problems of the last 5 or 6 years have caused a lot of people already to leave, and what they need to see is that the government will come up with a set of rules and stick with them, and those rules are fair and reasonable. And at this particular point, we fear that a lot of people will be deterred from applying, and as a result, Malaysia will lose out, which is a pity. So basically, that's where we are. We will update you when we get more information and when we get answers to some of our questions. So thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye.